The story of Jews in Ukraine stretches back nearly 1,000 years. It is a story filled with creativity, tradition, heartbreak, and resilience. For centuries, Ukraine was home to one of the largest Jewish populations in the world, and one of the most influential. Jewish communities took root in cities like Kyiv, Lviv, Odessa, Kharkiv, and many small towns known as shtetls. These communities developed their own unique culture, blending Yiddish language, religious scholarship, music, and daily traditions. Ukraine became the birthplace of Hasidism, a spiritual movement that emphasized joy, song, and connection with God. Leaders like the Baal Shem Tov had an enormous impact on Jewish life far beyond Eastern Europe. But Jewish history in Ukraine was also marked by repeated waves of persecution. In the 1600s, violent uprisings led to mass killings of Jewish communities. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, pogroms, organized attacks against Jews, swept through the region. These violent outbreaks, fueled by political instability and anti-Semitic propaganda, destroyed towns, took thousands of lives, and pushed many Jewish families to flee to America, Western Europe, or Palestine. Yet Jewish culture in Ukraine survived. Cities like Odessa became famous for their Jewish intellectuals, comedians, writers, and musicians. Jewish theaters, newspapers, schools, and political movements thrived. On the eve of World War II, more than 2.5 million Jews lived in Ukraine, one of the largest Jewish populations in the world. All of that changed when Nazi Germany invaded in 1941. The Holocaust in Ukraine was among the most brutal and immediate. Instead of deporting many Jews to camps, Nazi forces and local collaborators carried out mass shootings on the spot. One of the most horrific massacres took place at Babyn Yar, near Kyiv, where more than 33,000 Jews were murdered in just 2 days. Across Ukraine, hundreds of thousands were taken to ravines, forests, and fields, never to return. By the end of World War II, more than 1.5 million Ukrainian Jews had been murdered. Entire communities, some centuries old, were erased forever. After the war, Ukraine became part of the Soviet Union. Jewish cultural and religious life was heavily restricted. Synagogues were closed or monitored, Jewish education was limited, and expressions of identity were often suppressed. Despite these pressures, Jewish families continued to preserve their traditions quietly. When Ukraine gained independence in 1991, Jewish life began to revive. New synagogues opened, cultural organizations formed, and Jewish history started being taught more openly. Today, cities like Kyiv, Dnipro, and Odessa have active Jewish communities, and memorials across the country honor Holocaust victims and preserve the memory of the past. In recent years, war and conflict have once again reshaped Jewish life in Ukraine. Communities have been displaced, synagogues damaged, and families forced to flee. Yet Jewish organizations continue to offer support, and communities remain determined to survive, just as they have for 1,000 years. The story of Jews in Ukraine is a story of brilliance and trauma, of culture and struggle, of unimaginable loss and remarkable resilience. It reminds us how deeply Jewish history is intertwined with the history of Eastern Europe, and how important it is to remember, preserve, and protect that legacy.